Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Kretschmer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network, Woman of Inspiration Awards, and this is the Woman of Inspiration podcast, where we interview women of inspiration and the men that support her, making an impact locally, nationally, and globally. Today, it is my pleasure to be welcoming Faisal Karmali. Faisal, you and I have known each other for 13 years. This is a great opportunity. The tables are turned today because now I have the opportunity to interview you. Faisal is the first Vice President, Portfolio Manager, Investment Advisor at Popowich Karmali Advisory Group, the CIBC Gundy. So Faisal, you are just, your career is just enormous. You are, and I gotta say, I'm a little nervous here because you interview people on the radio every single week. You do daily updates. And so it's really exciting to have the opportunity to turn the tables around, interview you today, and be able to tell people exactly how you and I met, a little bit of your story, why you're so passionate about doing what you're doing in the retirement space, helping people build wealth. So let's dive right in if you're ready to go.
Let's do it. Thanks for having me, Monica.
You're very welcome. So Faisal, as I mentioned, you and I met 13 years ago. At that time, I was in the women's shelter. For those that are watching, they know a little bit of my story, but you walked in and saying, you know, I'd love to help and support a woman. Who may I help? And they said her. And, you know, I was the one lucky enough to be on the receiving end of your goodwill and your really your generosity, because you and I ended up building a relationship. I remember handing my package over to a stranger at that time. I had no idea who you were, and I put all of my faith and trust into you. So Faisal, what was the reason that you actually decided to walk through the doors and say, you know, I want to help and serve, I want to give back to the community? What was that story about?
Yeah, Monica. So to start off with, I'm a certified divorce financial analyst. And so prior to getting that designation, you do a little bit of research on where the trends are happening, and the purpose of why I do what I do, Monica, is because I really want to help and I want to make a difference in people's lives. And with a financial background and so forth, the biggest roadblock to people receiving or achieving some of their goals is a financial issue. And so when I decided to go into this divorce planning and divorce financial analysis, what I uncovered in my research is that the biggest impact upon divorce happened to women. In fact, majority of the bankruptcies after divorce are women. The most impact financially and long-term financial impacts are women. And so who else can meet my purpose than me going out and actually helping people in the side, and more importantly, helping women. And that's where I said, who are the ones that I can impact and help the most that need it right away? And that's where I reached out to the shelter here in Calgary, and that's where I got to meet you.
Amazing. And it is such a big need. You've hit it right on the nail, and we don't talk about it enough, about the impact that divorce does have on your financial wellness, and especially thinking about retirement. Most people are, you know, they go through divorce, and, you know, being able to recover and rebuild is almost impossible. So having somebody that knows what they're doing, understands your situation or the situation that you're in is truly life-saving.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I have to say that I have never felt so much security from having worked with somebody like yourself, where I had to just go and work and focus on my own life, and know without a doubt that my financial future would be safe in your hands. So thank you so much again for everything that you've done to help and support me over the past 13 years. I couldn't recommend your services enough. Let's just say that.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
So tell me, what inspired you to go down this path and venture into this world of finance and help serve people in the way that you do now?
Yeah, so growing up in Calgary, I was, I would say, into the middle class, lower middle class family. People around me were having different experiences from a financial matter. I didn't realize that as a young child, but as you get older, you kind of find out that there is a difference between what people can reach in their financial goals and how it limits you in certain areas. And what I learned at a very young age is the structure you can put out in your financial means will give you the financial freedom in the future. And so by taking that and my purpose of helping people, I went down the path of getting educated and licensed and so forth in my area of financial planning, financial advice, investment management, portfolio management, and really trying to help people reach their goals. And we all get excited about the whole stocks and bond kind of thing that happens out there in the markets, but that's really not the real issue or real reason why I got into it. Trust me, I love what I do when it comes to money management, but it's really helping people achieve their goals is what drives me every single day.
So you're one of the areas of specialty that you're known for is for retirement planning. So let's talk a little bit about retirement planning. When should you start thinking about it?
Yeah, and so what we've realized in our practice is that it's been a point in transition, and you've nailed the big one, which is retirement transition. That's the scariest time. People are depending on their savings to provide them an income for the rest of their lives. They're accustomed to making a paycheck or business income, and they can live off that knowing there's another check or another part of income coming their way. And then all of a sudden, you're like, I have to live off of whatever I've saved. And that's a scary time. Anxiety happens. And a lot of mistakes happen along the way where people actually literally either run out of money or have to change their lifestyle, which is one thing that my business partner and I decided that that's not what we want to have. And so when should we be starting to plan this? Of course, as soon as possible. But the actual crux of where the risk happens is generally 10 years or less before you actually start living off your savings. That's where the risks start to increase. We're experiencing right now volatility and so forth, and people are accustomed to putting a lot of their money in high risk or high volatile investments. And when it comes time to actually remove that money and spend it, if you're going through that volatility, it can really take an impact. So we've developed a strategy. We call it the 4 buckets or asset dedication that's designed to protect, grow your money, provide you income, provide for healthcare in the future if you need it, and then provide a legacy for your beneficiaries if you choose to.
So let me ask you something. You know, when we're going through situations like we are, a global pandemic, you know, it came out of nowhere, you know, March 11th. Let's just get that on the record right now that it's April the 15th today, March 11th. 5 weeks ago, everything turned upside down overnight for us. And, you know, that's a scary thing for everyone. It touches everyone all over the world. So how have you seen, what sort of changes have you seen and behaviors or, you know, people sort of thinking about their financial security right now?
Yeah, this is the first time I think in my entire career that health has become a priority over wealth. And we are actually living that. We are now stuck in our homes to some degree. We're under self-isolation, social distancing, and we are basically doing this to keep people alive. And that's the first thing. And so we've, as a society, have said, let's push aside the wealth, the business, the income, the economy, and let's focus on the health first, and then we can get back to the economy. So this is the first time in my career where I've seen health take priority over wealth.
So do you think that now that we talk about this being a great pause, you know, it's a time where people do have the time to think about their health, to think about what is important, what truly matters. Would you say that this is almost a great time to start thinking about your financial future?
Absolutely. If you look at what we all hear about in the media and what we're talking about amongst friends on Zoom or any other type of device out there, we're talking about how we're going to change our lives. We're going to, you know, spend more time with family. We're going to do different things. I can work from home. My kids can go to school from home. Things are different there. I've had very little conversation with individuals talking about how their financial future is going to change and what they can do today to plan for that. couple of ideas that have come up in conversation that I have had has been, well, what if I do lose my job? Do I have, and it takes 6 months to get back into the economy or myself, forget about society as a whole. Do I have 6 months of money put aside for the just in case? Just nested aside so that it doesn't have to be used or utilized. But if I do lose my job and this pandemic happens again, or something else refrains me from working or receiving any kind of cash flow, that's going to be an interesting situation. So that's some of the things that people are saying. So thinking about putting their fiscal house in order. And this is the time where financial literacy can become a superpower for many, many individuals. Not understanding basic financial planning, basic budgeting, understanding how your money can be stretched, and understanding how to invest and save for the future. This is the time, well, we do have time, so we can park a little bit of that time and put it towards financial literacy for financial success.
So I know that if I was to say, you know, what is one thing that people can actually do right now that would serve them best? If there was one or two things that you could pull out of your toolbox of suggestions for them to sort of, you know, act on right away, what would that be?
First, put your fiscal house in order. So that requires you to understand what your cash flow is. We know what we were experiencing. Let's go back January, December, November. What were we spending our money on? That's the normal. That's what we were doing over the last, let's call it 3, 6, 12 months. That was our normal life. What were we spending our money on? Was it necessary? Because now we're reflecting on what is necessary and what's not. So getting your fiscal house in order, your spending and so forth, as a whole, Canadians in general, even Americans, are in debt. They spend more than they make. They have accumulated unnecessary debt, in my opinion, and that has caused them to be financially disadvantaged. And this is where the time where we can get our fiscal house in order. And the second piece is that financial literacy, either on your own or through a professional, getting the advice, building a strategy, building a personal financial plan, and then working those steps to execute it. Those are the things we can be doing right now.
Fantastic advice. And I know that you know, you and I are along the same sort of lines, looking at this time as a reset, and opportunities are everywhere. So I know that you have been, you know, you've been in this industry with Popowich Karmali advisory group for the past over a decade, and you also do strategies every single month for people. That was sort of an in-person event, and now you've shifted to a virtual event. So maybe talk a little bit about what you have been doing ongoing to help and support people with their financial future.
Yeah, so let's start off 10 years ago when Dave, my business partner, and I merged our practices together. We had the onset of, first of all, helping people go through transition. So that would be either retirement transition, divorce transition, death of a spouse transition. Those are big and important periods in people's lives. Helping those individuals through that transition has been a key focus of ours. But we just didn't want to do it in regards to helping 1 or 2 or 500 people that we deal with now. We wanted to impact many, many people's lives. And the best way you can do that is by educating and informing the public. And so we took a purposeful way and having a strategy in place by using conventional media, TV, radio, print, to get our messages out, get the education out. We built a radio show that we do, which is now also on video and podcast, that we can educate individuals. And as we've moved through this pandemic, we've learned, well, we can't have these monthly seminars that we used to. Now we have to go online. So we're launching our series online now every month. People can connect online live and then even ask us questions, and we'll give answers live right after. So this is a continuing our monthly event and so forth. But we've upped our game on the social media side. And what I mean by that is we are putting more and more information, more and more ideas, more and more tactics and disclosure of what's going on out there in the world, so that people can actually take them, or can take them in the ways that they want to. Either it's on a long form, audio, video, print, whatever it may be, however you like to receive information, we want to give it to you.
So let's talk about that. Your More Than Money show is hosted on Global News, 770 CHQER, and that's dedicated specifically for the retirement, correct?
That's
And then
right.
you also have um, a daily business, and that's on CTV. So maybe just, help everybody know where they can find you, where they can find this information, because you're all over.
Yeah.
So maybe I can get you just to share that so everybody knows where to find you.
So let's talk about how we want to get our message across. So we're using different mediums. First of all, we are on radio 4 times every weekday. In the morning, think of it as if you're driving to work, and think of it as you're driving away from work. We're giving you the market updates and the business news that's happened in the public markets. We also do that morning update on CTV and the news on TV. And so that way you can get your information from us about what's happening in the business world and the markets. We then also have a retirement radio show, which is also a podcast and on video as well, through our website, where you can get the information of everything that people are talking about when it comes to retirement. Now, the show's called More Than Money, so it's not just a financial show. We talk to mental health professionals. We talk about how do you handle yourself as you're aging. Everything that you can think of that people as they age and go through retirement are thinking about, worrying about, we bring those experts on our show to help with those matters. So that's the crux of it. And then we've branched out, and we're now on LinkedIn, Facebook, and the other social media platforms, Twitter and so forth, to provide more and more information and contact. Because we've been in our homes and so forth, my team of 14 people are in 5 different locations, including my own here. We're now actually posting more and sharing more information directly to our social media feeds to keep people abreast of what's going on, because we're engaged and we're watching this every single day. I'm reading so much about what's going on. And so unfortunately, most people get their information from a small snippet of resources. We try to pan that out wider and bring it back to our audience.
Amazing. Now, I'd like to ask you, switch gears just slightly, Faisal. So how, if any, has your leadership style changed? You have a team. We talked in the green room before, where your team literally, you've been able to keep them intact through this whole process. And I'm sure that you've sat down and looked at the way you lead your team. Has that changed? So, for those that are listening, how has the global pandemic affected, shifted, changed your leadership?
So now we have to be a bit more open and flexible than ever before. Everybody's going through different circumstances. When we have, you're a stay-at-home mom now because you're forced to, because your kid's at home, your spouse is at home, and you're stuck at home, yet you're still working with us. You're still on my team, right? So how do you balance those 2 different lives when they've been collided together? That takes a different type of leadership that Dave and I and Andrew, our third partner, jump on board in. When you're being designated to stay in the main office and you have to worry about the health of those individuals, they're going through downtown Calgary in a building. We got to be cognizant of that. So we have to keep our eyes open for that. And then the technology challenges. There's been times where technology hasn't been our friend, even though we want it to be. And so we have to lead in different ways. So constant communication, constant understanding of everybody's circumstances. The firm as a whole has given per diems for people who have to come into work. So that they have some compensation on that. So they understand that, it's tough. You're now a frontliner, and because we're considered an essential service, people's money, people's lives are at stake when it comes to their cash flow and so forth. We have to be there for them. And so when our team is all split up in different areas, leadership requires very unique, very specific to the individual, and so that we can collectively be a stronger team. We're fortunate enough, no one's taking a pay cut, no one's losing their job. No, we will fight till the end for our entire team. And I'm happy that that we're actually proud of saying that, given what's going on right now.
So let's talk about the culture. There's lots of the negative that's going on, but there's lots of really amazing things that are coming out of this. Let's talk about the positives that we can sort of get people thinking and getting excited about, because this is historical. It hasn't ever happened, and knock on wood, it won't ever happen again. But what are our biggest takeaways from this in your point of view?
I think we've learned that we can versus we can't. We've been accustomed to say, no, we can't do that. Businesses have said, we can't do that. It's not possible to work from home. It's not possible to deliver our goods through a delivery service. It's not possible to coach and counsel our clients virtually versus face-to-face. I've been doing this since 1997, and I've been accustomed to shaking hands and looking the whites of the eyes across a table less than 6 feet away. That's not possible today. But we've changed the way we do these things. And I think when we look at this, the words "I can't" just doesn't apply. We can. So that's the positive side of things. Look what we're evolving to. We're now realizing that it's more than just business. It's more than just money. It's about health, family, wealth, and the whole surround, the holistic person. And so how do we reach those things? I think these are positive things that we're learning from, and we're seeing the new normal happen. The new normal economically is going to change. I can give you the macroeconomic viewpoint by saying, we're not going to be reliant on certain areas around the world like we used to. For example, we've been accustomed to or reliant on China or other Asian countries when it comes to our businesses. Everything that we would buy in our stores were pretty much made in China. Well, a lot of things aren't coming from China for a while. So what do? You're hearing companies change their entire business to provide ventilators, to provide masks, they're changing the way they're doing things. Maybe we can make our own resources locally. Now, from an economic perspective, that has a different mindset. Do we need as many schools as we have? Can the government use virtual viewpoints like Zoom and so forth to educate the populations around the province? Can we save on infrastructure costs, maybe give a different way of what we call e-learning? And so there's so many different things that we can learn from this. I think it's so positive. However, everything that we have evolved in, if we go back to the beginning of time, whenever there's been major shifts in our lifestyle, the new normals have come from very tough, very challenging times, and we're in one right now.
So and I couldn't agree with you more. I always like to look at the glass half full rather than half empty. And I think it comes from, living through adversity. I think that when you have lived through adversity and you've been tested, you're like, bring on the challenge. Let's get this done, right?
Yeah.
So it's a time for leaders to rise to the top, leaders to be born every single day, as we're seeing, and collaborations to happen. So you touched on that a little bit about, how companies are being really innovative. So what are some of the things that you see happening for the future?
Yeah, so let's look at it in different segments in time. Let's start off the next 6 to 18 months. Over the next 6 to 18 months, we're going to figure out how we can live and reintegrate back into society as we normally saw it. And that's going to be a big challenge. This is a health issue. And so that's going to take some time. I believe the Prime Minister has said with the provinces, there's going to be a phase in of coming back into what the new normal will look like. So it's not going to be a flick of the switch and everybody starts running out and going back to work. And there's going to be a phase. And that's going to be very interesting, bumpy, not perfect, but it's going to be that. Let's go further out, 18 months to 5 years. Now we're going to have every company, every business, every employee start to reevaluate how they want to deliver the product or services in the way they want to in the future. And that's where the ones who are willing to change, wanting the ability to have that knowledge and build the team that they have to have on there to move forward, that's going to be the change. So you're going to see a bunch of companies flourish in this time, and you're going to see a bunch of companies drop off. Think of the time when we invented, when people invented the internet, cell phone. How many companies got just destroyed because they didn't come along? There was a point in time where there were certain companies who were in the video rental business that said everybody will continue coming for a video rental. They're gone. There's so many businesses have perished because they didn't adjust to what's been changing. And that was the technological revolution. And now we're part of that technological revolution, and we're going to see what the next phase of businesses will strive and which one are not going to.
Amazing. And I like to keep, thinking forward. I've had plenty of conversations with companies, and we're, talking about women's initiatives and what the companies are doing with their diversity inclusiveness program.
Yeah.
And those are still intact. Nothing is actually, it's even more important. We're like, we really still need to keep this front and center. So, maybe let's talk about that for a little bit, what is your company doing for women's initiatives? What are you doing for your teams? Because as people sort of, get back into the workforce, and we're thinking about how our teams are fitting together, those things now are at the top of mind. So what is your organization doing for supporting?
Well, let me divide that answer in two different parts. Let me look at the big firm, CIBC as a whole, and what CIBC has been doing. A couple of examples. One is women in wealth. Right? So women in wealth have been a very big piece, educating, informing financial literacy, like I was mentioning before, and support. How do we get women's businesses back on? How do we help them along the way in that? And there's also the Welcome to Canada program. The Welcome to Canada program, as we have many, many women move to this country, it's a big change from where they may have come from. So supporting them along the way in that is important. So we've learned that piece. Now, when you look at my team of 14 members, more are women than men. And there's a reason for that. These women are phenomenal. Not saying the guys aren't great, but the women are phenomenal. And they bring a different perspective that maybe through my lens, I will not see. And we have diversity amongst gender, we have diversity amongst culture, we have ethnicity and so forth, because everybody's lens will provide us a collective good to reach our goals of our clients. And that's who we work for at the end of the day. Our clients is not homogeneous. They're diverse. So it would be lack of prudence on my end as a practitioner to not adopt that mentality along the way. And we're seeing that the change in women over the last few decades has been phenomenal. They haven't been put at par with men, and I understand the economics, and I don't always agree with them, but I understand where we're at. But things are changing. We are seeing more women entrepreneurs. You are one of them. We are seeing, in my practice, what we call suddenly single women. The amount of wealth being transferred to women who are either going through divorce or death of a spouse is staggering. It's amazing what they're going through. And that point in time is where we can actually help and be an asset to them with our knowledge, with our collective team. And that is huge. And so understanding that there is a change in women, the wealth change is going to happen to women. Business owners are more and more women. This is a huge, huge change happening. This is the tip of the iceberg, and it's nothing but up from here for women.
And I was going to ask you, why is it so critical to support women in business? Sum it up in just a couple lines, Faisal.
Yeah, if you want to know where the money is headed, where the business is headed, where the world of decisions are headed, it's with women. And so you got to be part of it. Don't be against it.
Amazing. Well, this has been a great interview, full of knowledge. Before we sort of wrap up our interview today, Faisal, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, being transparent about, where you are in your own world right now as we, find our new normal through the global pandemic. But what sort of words of wisdom would you leave our guests with today that you really want them to know more than any time right now?
We are at a very challenging time. And so the one thing to remember is that we are going to get through this. I can't tell you exactly when, but we are. And so it's not a matter of if anymore. We are. And so what does that look like? And what can we do to help ourselves? The wisdom that I can tell you that have been shared with me in the past with major issues and financial crises and economic impacts, I can share with everybody. Those who are financially educated or literate will be the ones who will survive. If you do not understand the basics of financial planning, financial money management, you're going to be at a disadvantage in the new normal. Because in the new normal, a lot of businesses will be taken out. So the strong will survive. When it comes to individuals, We have deferred our debt. We haven't paid it out. No one's given us a bailout to pay off our debt. We're just deferring the inevitable. And so not having your fiscal house in order and not having that financial literacy, you're setting yourself up with great danger. So this is the time, if anything that I've learned in previous issues economically, this is the time where we can actually take it to the next level, get our fiscal houses in order, and become more financially strong for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Amazing. And if you can just wrap up, and again, where can people find out about joining your online monthly seminars that you have, and more of your talks and information so they can get in touch with you to get that financial.
The easiest place to come is go to our website, pkag.ca. That stands for Popowich Karmali Advisory Group. So pkag.ca.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Faisal. I know that you're a father of two amazing girls, and I wish you and your family health and lots of health and safety right now. So I look forward to continue the conversation, and I think that we should touch base, 6 months from now and see how we're progressing through this. I call it a beautiful mess. Yeah. It is just a beautiful mess, but I'm with you on that good things will come. Let's stay positive. Let's just take some action and put those plans in place. Okay. So thank you so much, Faisal, for your time today. And this is the Woman of Inspiration podcast. We were speaking with Faisal Karmali. Thank you.